Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. Cheers, Nancy. I see you. Mother hens in the house, y'all. We also have, of course, our Francesca. We have Kathy. We have Jocelyn. We have Jackie. We have Alice also in the house. How do you like all that? It's always good to have our friends here, isn't it? Thanks for being here. That means something to me. This, of course, is the Daily Dish, and this is bringing vibrancy back to your life, heart, mind, body, and soul. I have a lot to say about that. We have been talking about it for a while. Hi, Susan. And you know why we have a lot to say about that? Because this is that aha moment when we finally realize that the whole culture, the whole diet culture just doesn't work. Not only does it work, does it not work, but it pulls vibrancy from your life. You know, it is like this unending need hole. So forget about it. We need to be on the other side of that and understanding that what we want in our lives, right here, you, me, all of us, vibrancy. We want to feel good in this little skin container of ours. And we want to have the lives that we want to have. We get to customize them and create those ourselves. That's why we're here. And this week we're talking about getting back to basics. Basics are important because basics are foundational. And yesterday we kind of used the metaphor of building a house. We're going to go even further into that and really give you some good takeaways today. Are you ready for that? So if you're ready, let's go ahead and get started. Don't forget, the quote of the day is the greatest glory in living lies not in never falling rather, but in rising every time we fall. Because that's just the way it is, folks. You're never, ever going to be in the place where you do things perfectly, but we can do things excellently. Jenny just reminded me of that, which I so appreciate. And if you are looking for all the things that are going on, including our supplements of the week, which are really screaming deal, go to savingdinner.com/announcements to get the update on all the things. Shall we? That's how we do it. Do you like the curls? I'll tell you what, Nancy, if I took this business down, you would have a full-on hair experience. That's all I can say about that. Hey there, Chris. Susan's in the house too. Yay. I am so glad to have you all here. That's all I can say. Lily, hello. Jocelyn here too? Susan, who else am I missing? Probably everybody. Well, if I forget you, it's not on purpose. You know that, right? We're also going to go live right now on the Tick and the Talk. You ready for that? There we go. We're going live here on Facebook, live here on YouTube, and live here on TikTok. Welcome. Today on the Daily Dish, again, we're going into the foundational principles of what makes up a vibrant woman. Because we know that just concentrating on our jean size and the color of our lipstick and all of that is just garbage. It's never going to get us to the vibrant place that we want in our lives. It's never going to get us that delectable, juicy life that we want. Hey, Tanya, I'm so glad you're here. Right? Isn't that what you want? Hello, Amber. Good to see you. I'm glad you're here. So again, don't forget, if you want to get some digestive enzymes, you know where to go. savingdinner.com/announcements. That's where everything is hiding out. That's where you're going to find screaming special deals in the whole 9 yards. So let's get on with it, shall we? Oh, and by the way, who was here last night for the Sprint webinar? Did you like the slides? Hi, Teresa. Did you like the slides? Well, the slides were all done by Amber, and she just did a beautiful, beautiful job. So I hope you saw that, because on the 11th, we're seriously going right after that sprint. Remember, the Hot Meal Sprint is free. A hot milk sprint is just a correction. It's not a diet. It's a way to get things back into the equilibrium that we all need and we all deserve, by the way. That's what I know about that. Well, thank you, Lily. You're so sweet. All right. So let's talk about this foundation then, shall we? We're building a foundation. Not only are we building it, but we're also need to maintain it. There is lessons to be learned from fairy tales, believe it or not. Anyone remember the Three Little Pigs? Okay, I've got some overlay here. Deal with me, okay? Deal with this story because it's important. You remember the Three Little Pigs, the wolf, and all of that stuff. So let's get with it. First of all, there were three little pigs, and they all three decided that they needed to build houses for themselves. So there was one little pig who built his house out of straw. There was another little pig who built his house out of sticks. And guess what? Wham, bam, done. They just got it done really quickly. Meanwhile, the third little pig, what's he doing? He is building his house out of bricks. Now, the straw and stick builders, pig one and pig two, they're like, you know what? I want to sing. I want to dance. I want to play. Life's too short to be sitting here, creating this house for everything that it's worth. Meanwhile, the third little pig worked hard all day long while the other pigs were out there singing, dancing, playing. You know the drill. You know how that works. And so what happened was he got the whole house built with bricks. He even built a fireplace so that he could cook his meals. I mean, he had everything going down. It wasn't just this lean-to shelter. It was an absolute real shelter with walls, like we talked about yesterday, a roof, like we talked about yesterday, and all the things in order so that he had a good, strong structure. So guess what happens? Anybody remember this story? Guess what happens next? The wolf comes a-calling. He goes to pig one's house and he goes, little pig, come on out. And he says, because wolves have kind of a way of doing things as usual way, right? They can be pretty predictable. Little pig, let me in, he says. And the little pig answers, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. You remember this one, right? And he said, well, if you don't, I will huff and puff and blow your house down. And guess what he did? He huffed, he puffed, he blew the house down, and guess what happened? Pig one says, I'm out of here, runs over to pig two's house, a little more sturdy, not the straw house that's now just a bunch of straw all over the ground. He goes to the stick house, and he's in the stick house, hiding, cowering, and shaking in his little pig hoofs because there's a big bad wolf outside. And of course, what do you hear next? Little pig, let me in. And they both answer, not by the hairs of my chinny chin chin. Of course. Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in. And of course, what did he do? He did. It took him a little extra work because these were sticks, not straw. But boom, it came down. It came down all right. And the first pig and the second pig go running and they go hiding in the third pig's house, the brick house, the one with the chimney and the fireplace, that one, the one that took them all day to build, the strong one. So guess what? They slam the door, they're hiding in the corner, and all three of them are cowering and going, oh no, what's going to happen here? Sure enough, the same conversation ensues. Little pig, let me in, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow the house in. And what happens? He huffed, he puffed, he huffed, and he puffed. And he huffed and puffed his way all the way to exhaustion. All the way to exhaustion. So the pig's house was way too resilient, way too strong to be blown down by the wolf. But then the wolf, being as tricky as wolves can be, decides, you know what? Okay, so I can't get in from the front door. I will go down the chimney and come on in. But by then, the third little pig, who is smart and persistent and is listening and paying attention, says, you know what, I'm gonna do something about this, and takes a big pot of water and puts it on to boil. And guess what happens? As the wolf finally figures out how to land down in it, he falls into a big boiling pot of water. The third pig slams the lid on it, and they have wolf stew for dinner. Ta-da! There's your little story time. Doesn't that just, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that we used to go to sleep with. Come on, this is kind of gross. But there are lessons here. And I want to use this as how we can parallel and see this as an overlay into, we have big bad wolves in our lives too. Don't you? I know I do. I've got a big bad wolf or 2 or 5 in my life. And when we think we see it coming in one way, it will surprise us and come in another way. We always need to consistently be prepared. So here are some lessons from the 3 little pigs. Number 1 is hard, consistent work pays off. There is a temptation oftentimes to shortcut this, to shortcut it as best as you can, to say, you know what, let's just get this thing done. Chop, chop. I want to go outside and play. I want to dilly-dally. I want to dance. I want to do Netflix. I want to play on my phone. I want to do all these things. And what happens is that we get it's not so much of perfectionism versus being excellent. It is a haphazard way of doing things versus deciding to do things correctly. You hear what I'm saying? We all know that if you build a house of straw versus a house of bricks, one is definitely going to last a whole lot longer than another one. So we all know this. So when we go in, we need to be looking at how is it that we need to do this? We have to have the big picture analysis, always, with everything. That's just the requirement for us as a human. And let me just say, what a fabulous opportunity this is, and a privilege, because it's recognizing our prefrontal cortex and the brilliance that resides between these 2 ears. We have the ability to figure things out. We don't have to just settle. We don't have to just go with what the fast and easiest fix is. Instead, what we can do is make a decision to go with the more excellent way. And the more excellent way in this whole situation is the hard, consistent work of using the right materials and of using the right mindset to correctly get that house built, because it's foundational, right? It's foundational for making that house stand. Number 2, when we dilly-dally and just get by, it doesn't even begin to crack resilience. You can't get resilient by just getting by. Just getting by doesn't show you what you're made out of. Just getting by means that you're just not going to give it minimal effort and not do the hard work of what resilience calls for. Resilience, persistence, and guts, grit, courage, bravery, it all requires a little bit more. It requires something inside of us that we all have, by the way, but very few have even bothered to tap. And that's what this is all about, is getting to that place of resilience. What are you made out of? Are you made out of straw or sticks? Or you're more like, Kool and the Gang, to quote Kool and the Gang, a brick house. How do you like that for a cultural reference? If you're from the 80s, you'll know. Otherwise, sorry, you can look it up. So number 3 is that planning ahead will help you to capture the wolves in your life. Every single person that I know who has ever done anything and gone beyond and broken barriers, completed goals, has had to deal with wolves too. But you know what? If you're prepared like the third wolf, or the third pig rather, if you are prepared like the third pig, you've built that house strong, structurally, foundationally, with a solid roof. And even though there was another entrance into that home, you're prepared just in case that wolf tries to make an entrance. And as a matter of fact, not only are you prepared for that, you're also ready to take down the wolf. So much so that maybe you decide to eat him. Not that I would suggest eating wolves by any means, whatever. And number 4 is that when we look at quick fixes, what are quick fixes anyway? They're the straws, and they're the straw and the sticks in our lives, aren't they? And they're never the answer. They're never the answer. They're not going to get us where we want. So, for example, a really good example, which believe me, I have coached many a woman who's asked me for this, and that is, I need to lose weight for a wedding, for a high school reunion, for whatever. Can you help me out? Sure, I can help you out. But do you want to gain it back afterwards, or do you really want to make it go all the way? What kind of what do you want here? Are we going for vanity, or are we going for health? That's what we have to be looking at. And there's nothing wrong with saying, I just want to look better in a bathing suit or whatever. Sure, whatever it is, you get to choose the reason why you want to pursue something. But we also have to look at it. Remember what I said about us having the ability to use our prefrontal cortex and have the big vision of what our life should be. We have to be in this position always, because when we're in this position of focusing on feeling good, focusing on what our health is and what we want in our lives and the kind of vibrancy that we want to live, doesn't this change everything? At that point, we're no longer trying to diet down to a pair of jeans. We're instead trying to get ourselves so that when we get our next blood test from the doctor says, my goodness, what are you doing? Everything looks so great here. That's what we want to do. And then the weight loss is just a consequence to all of this healthy living, to all of this movement, to this meditation practice that you have, and journaling, and taking care of the whole of you. These are foundational principles and foundational practices that can completely change the trajectory of your life. And that's no hyperbole. It's just absolutely the truth. So number 5 is really important. And that is, even if you work hard alone, capturing the wolf is often the result of community. Have you noticed that? And I will say, I have noticed this so much within our Hot Milk Sprint community. There are so many women who have used our community and leveraged that community for support, for encouragement, and for the help that they need. When we do this, do you know what happens when we do that? Everything starts to shift, because we recognize that we're not lone wolves out there, that we don't have to do this alone, that what we need is a community of like-minded women who are going to support us and hold us up. It's never done alone easily. But what happens with community is that the rising tide lifts all the boats. Keep that in mind as you're trying to go this alone. And remember too, that community is always going to make it a whole lot easier. It's going to be nice to have people who know what you're about and what you're doing. And then even going a step further and getting somebody, an accountability partner, leveling up all the way. It's crazy what happens with that. Right, Tanya? Yeah, Tanya, I was just going to pull you out of my hat too. But our Tanya says our community is a major reason to her success. By the way, for you on TikTok, Tanya is over here on Facebook, and she has lost 130 pounds and done it in just a very, you'd have to appreciate her story, but the community aspect of everything. She shows up every day with a picture of her food, a picture of her, and we call her Tanya Strong, hashtag Tanya Strong, for good reason, because she is a shining example of what strength and resilience and grit looks like. This is one of my cups, by the way. I have grit, not quit. Do you love that? You can see it backwards on TikTok. I don't know why they don't flip the lens, but c'est la vie. Anyway, community, everything. And it shows you that there are other people out there and you don't feel alone. Because you feel alone, you give up. Nobody cares. If you give up, the only person that you're disappointing is yourself. But when you give up and you bow out and Irish goodbye your community, they're worried about you. They're like, hey, whatever happened to so-and-so? Where has she been? We say that, in the Saving Dinner community, in our office, in our meetings, we'll say, remember so-and-so? Whatever happened to her? Where'd she go? Just disappeared, up and disappeared. Happens all the time. But not if you make a decision to show up for yourself and to show up for others, because we're in this together, we're in this together, and that's what community can do. Number 6 is a firm foundation and excellent building materials are always the first choice, because when you have that firm foundation, then you can build. You cannot build on a shaky foundation. You can't build on something that isn't created first. You ever try that? It'll just like completely fall down. And I will say that these materials that you choose, I mean, take a look at the Three Little Pigs. Awesome example of what not to choose for a building material. You want something solid. You want something that's going to hold and stand the test of time. You want good principles. That's why we love the Hot Melt Sprint. There's nothing wild and wacky in there. There's nothing faddish about it. There's nothing taking you on this wild, weirdo, blitzkrieg of cleanses and running to the bathroom all the time. None of that. It's just cleaning things up and correcting things that maybe were out of whack. Getting those nutrient deficiencies filled back up so that your little tanks are filled again. And so that you can feel good in your skin again. That's what this is all about. And that's the way we need to build our lives as well. Vibrancy is always going to be fueled by excellence in everything. And the first place to look is what's at the end of your fork. Because what's at the end of your fork is going to determine how vibrant you are or how vibrant you're not. That's period. Remember this, food is never neutral. It's not. It's either yay you or it's watch me take her down now. It's that black and white. There is that kind of disparity there. It doesn't care. It just is. This is biochemistry here, and this is how it works. Number 7, preparation for calamity ahead is what creates your plan B. Guess what? For all you perfectionists out there, and I'm one of them as well, by the way, when we think plan A is just going to go beautifully according to plan, there's not going to be a disruption or a bubble or whatever. And then all of a sudden, the car doesn't start, the blender poops out, something happens, something doesn't work. Be prepared. What are you going to do in case of plan B, plan A falling apart? Have plan B. Have some meals in the freezer, for heaven's sakes. Have things ready to go so that you are never stuck and you're not at anyone's mercy. The only one we can ever blame about that, by the way, is ourselves. If you don't open your mouth and say to your host, for example, hey, love to come for dinner, really would appreciate it, but just so you know that I'm kind of on this, I'm doing this 7-day plan, and I'm really watching the carbs for this whole time. Maybe I can bring some steaks for us to grill, or maybe I can do this, or maybe I can do whatever it is that you're going to do. But the point is that you can have a voice in what's next for your life. You do not have to be anyone's victim. You don't have to be the person that that you're saying, oh, I wish I could have done that, but we were invited and I had to, and this, that, and the other thing. You know what? We always have a way. We always have a way. Diana Nyad, your way out of this, right? Remember, find a way. This is what took a 64-year-old woman across the sea to finally meet her goal. This is what can do for you as well. Having a voice, showing up consistently, being persistent, and making sure that those building materials are nothing but quality. You can do that. So can I. This is the call if we want vibrancy in our lives. And number 8, bricks are tools for building this life. Now, I'm going to show you a little preview, just very quickly, of something you might have coming your way. I know I did that. Jenny's going to be freaking out at me in a minute, right? Let me just say this. The Take Back Your Life Journal is designed for you to do this. The Take Back Your Life Journal basically takes your goals and drills them down to 4 goals and in 12 weeks so that you can get what you want. And by being consistent with it, you see these goals come to life. Doesn't that make you feel a little different about goals? That's one of those things. Meditation, back to center every single day, being in touch with who you are. That's one of those things. Using a mindful mug to remind yourself, instead of having it filled up with pens like this, Maybe you've got it filled up with a mug of soup to remind yourself to be mindful when you sit down and eat your food, the food that's going to fuel your life. Do you see where all these little tools come in? You've got the bricks, you've got the mortar, you've got the everything. All these little things are lined up to build a resilient and a strong house. This is where you live. You want the resilience, you want the strength, right? So those are absolutely, I mean, this is absolutely critical. So just remember that the wolf symbolizes fear, and we all have fear of some sort, don't we? In all of its forms, in all of its temptations. We don't want to fall back into the old habits. We don't want to fall back into the place, let the wolf fall into the hot water and be cooked up. Not us. We don't need to fall into there and accidentally get cooked up. But we have to understand that wolves are predators, and they're always looking for easy prey. We are easy prey if we neglect to plan, and if we neglect to plan all the way through and think this best case scenario, worst case scenario, plan A, plan B, maybe even a plan C. But this is what we have to do in order for us to have the exact life that we want. We have to be prepared that there might be something that we're unprepared for. So if we've already thought it through and we have it all together, that's going to help us out a lot. We don't ever have to fall victim again. No, we don't. And do you know why? Because we always have plans in place. We have a firm foundation. We have the bricks in place. We have these morning and evening rituals that guard our little heart's fire. And when we're guarding that fire, we're constantly stoking it as well, so that we can have the life that we design, not the life by default. That's what happens when we take on the victim mentality. Well, I just can't help it. What am I going to do? Oh my goodness, just came out of nowhere. I will tell you, wolves come out of nowhere all the time. That's what wolves do. They're sneaky, they're predatory. And so are the wolves in your life, whatever they are, or even whomever they are. Be prepared. You don't have an excuse when you know better, you do better. That's our motto. Thank you, Maya Angelou. It is our motto, because when we do that, then life really begins to go the way that we want it to go. It's that simple. It is just that simple. And that is how you get the full bloom life that you want. Vibrant, overflowing, abundant. Everything that you want. So much so that when you wake up in the morning, you can't wait for your feet to hit that floor. You can't wait to take on your day. How about that for a vibrant life? What do you think about that? Sign me up. I'm all about that. Do you see what Nancy said? The journal is what helped me in the beginning. Amen. That's right. Now, if you need the announcements, you want to find the supplements of the week where you got a great screaming deals. If you want to find out all about Full Bloom, anything else that we've got going on, then go to savingdinner.com/announcements. That's where we house everything. Okay? I appreciate you showing up. Thank you again for being a part of our lovely audience. Appreciate you. YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. Thanks for showing up. I'll see you tomorrow for Wise Women's Wednesday. Peace be with you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.